Alright guys, we have the new Sky Striker stuff also in the game right now, and I want to show you some basic combos that you can do with this, some applications for the new cards, some of them being better, some of them being a bit worse, but let's go and take a look at them. We have first the Pillar of the Future Cyanos, which doesn't seem like a Sky Striker card, but this card is always treated as a Sky Striker card. You can discard one spell, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Sky Striker Ace Rose from your deck or graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except machine monsters, which keep this limitation in mind, the machine monster limitation. This is something to keep in mind when you want to go into different extra deck monsters, but this can go and clear the board quite well on its own, basically with one additional discard that in this case will be our Maneuver Afterburn. So this is more of a clear card and not a card that you want to go first turn basically, and then you can also banish this card from your graveyard. Take one of your Sky Striker Ace Rose cards that is banished on your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Obviously, it would be cooler if that this card could work with the Ray instead of the Rose, but it's nice because now we have the ability to get two bodies on the field, which makes sense for our new Link monster. So we are going to activate the Cyanos here, dumping our Afterburner to the grave, which is also very nice because obviously you want your Sky Striker spells in the graveyard so that they have bonus effects. Then we can summon the guy. Obviously we can now special summon a Rose from our deck, and then we can go into Link to Machine Monster here because we are machine locked. Keep that in mind. We can go into our Z-Key, and then Z-Key can activate to Alright guys, welcome back. We have new Sky Striker support here, and I want to go over some basic combos, some new lines that are now available to the deck with the new support, some support cards being better, some being a bit worse. We have firstly Pillar of the Future Cyanos, which this is not a Sky Striker card you might say, but this card is always treated as a Sky Striker card, so it basically is. We can discard one spell, special summon this card from our hand. If we have special or normal summon this guy, we can special summon one Sky Striker Ace Rose from our deck or graveyard. Also, we cannot special summon anything from the extra deck but machine monsters. Keep this in mind if you want to go into different extra deck stuff. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Also, take one of your Sky Striker Ace Rose that is banished on your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So one card that creates a lot of advantage. Another cool thing obviously is, in this case we have the Widow Anchor in our hand to discard it for the effect of the Pillar of the Future Cyanos. You can obviously also just normal summon it, but for the combo I show you now, you will have to discard this card, the spell card, because we will need the spell card later on to banish it. Let me quickly put them out of the graveyard because for some reason I put them in the graveyard, not in the deck. They are not in the graveyard. This is very important for this combo here. So what we can do now, and this makes more sense playing into a board, clearing a board, not going for it first turn here, we are going to use the effect of Cyanos, dumping the Widow Anchor, and the other cool thing obviously is that you want your Sky Striker spells in your graveyard, because if you have three of them, three of the spells in the graveyard, then they will have additional bonus effects. So that is why this discard might seem a bit bad, and in some case it is, because obviously you also want to keep the Widow Anchor in the hand, but just remember that you can also reset it with your continuous spell, basically, if you can get access to this via other cards in your turn, but it's also an advantage because then we have more spells in the graveyard to give our other spells bonus effects. Then we can special summon the Rose from the deck here. Very nice. We have two bodies now. We can go into a Machine Link, which can go into our Z-Key. Z-Key can activate to banish something, so we can out the first thing here, and then we can activate the Cyanos from the graveyard. I have read this to you. We can resummon the Rose, and this can now go into our new Link free monster here. That is our Sky Striker Azalea Temperance. You know the Azalea, the card that was the recent addition to this deck. Now we have Azalea Temperance, 2+ monsters, including a Link monster. So this comes in very handy, I would say. It makes sense to basically always make this with a Z-Key. You can also make this with other monsters, obviously, but this combo here with the Cyanos plays very, very handsomely into this Azalea Temperance. Must first be Link summoned. If this card is special summoned, you can banish one spell from your hand or graveyard. This is why we need the spell here in the graveyard. And then we are able to target one monster our opponent controls with 2,500 attack or less, equip that face a monster to this card. And it's not really hard to find an opponent's monster with 2/5 or less. There are plenty of targets in the game in the current meta. And then also, when this card is destroyed by battle, we can special summon one other Sky Striker monster from our hand or graveyard. So this if this basically is destroyed, we won't even even only get the Ray back if we have it in the graveyard, but we can summon anything else back, which can also be one of the Sky Striker Link monsters, obviously giving us additional advantage. For example, summoning back Kagari, which is obviously very, very nice. So we can now use the Temperance to activate it, banish the spell, and then equip one of our opponent's monsters to this one as an equip spell, which is also nice because we don't put it like in our monster zone, which basically blocks effects of our spell cards, but we can put it in the spell and trap zone where it doesn't hinder us from additional Sky Striker plays. Another cool new option that is now available to you, because we have a new card that I will show in a moment here, is that if you're going first, you can definitely now, if you have an array and access to your rows, so 2 of them, you have a better option now than you had before, because before you couldn't attack, so you couldn't use your higher tier to send something into the graveyard, but now you actually can without attacking. So let's assume we are on our first turn, right? We are going to summon the Ray normal, then we can Rose special summon, and now we can go Link 2 into one of our new monsters, the Sky Striker Ace Camellia. And Camellia says to affect monsters must first be linked summoned. You can only special summon Sky Striker Amelia once per turn. Once per turn, if you have 3 or less spells in your graveyard, which at the moment we have, obviously, we can send one Sky Striker card from our deck to the graveyard, and then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster your opponent controls, special summon this card to their field, and if you do send that monster to the graveyard, also shift control to this card's owner during the end phase of this turn. So this is another option that you can use. We have talked about clearing the board with the new cards in the combo before, or in the line before, you could say, not really a combo, I would say, but this card also enables you or gives you the ability to clear an opponent's monster and then also get this back to your field, which is obviously quite nice, as you will be able to use her for additional resource generation. But now we can first activate her and dump something to the graveyard. In this case, we are going to dump the Engage to the graveyard, and now obviously it's basically the same thing as with the Hayate. Hayate would normally dump the Engage to the graveyard, but we can't attack, so this time around the Camellia can do the job here. Then we are going to obviously link this into our Kagari, giving us the ability to grab back our Engage from the graveyard. I also have activated the Camellia just to show you that at this point in the graveyard the Camellia would then trigger, which is nice because if you get her back in the end, on the end phase, you can obviously then on the next turn use her again for the same purpose to get her off the field and basically remove something from your opponent, right? Now we have added our Engage to the hand. Obviously we can go like we would always do into our Shizuku, and then we can use our Engage to search whatever we want. We want maybe an Afterburner, we want a negation on the field, or you want the Shark Cannon, whatever. You can search here either for follow-up or as an additional interruption. Before, we basically always had to go just into Shizuku because we didn't have a spell in the grave for Kagari. Now we have the spell in the grave because of the Camellia, and we can do a stronger first turn if we have access to 2 bodies that we can use to link into the Camellia. Another really nice play that you can make with the last new card that we have added is if you have the Xenos for normal summon. So this time around we are going to normal summon the Xenos and we are going to summon the Rose. Then we can use both of them into the new Camellia. Camellia can then dump the Sky Striker Ace Ray to the graveyard. This is very important. Now we can use the Xenos to revive back the Rose, and we can go into our Link 3, the other new monster here. Sorry, Link 2. But we need to use the dark and the light monster because this needs 2 light and or dark monsters. Combination maneuver Engage 0, where there is, I think it's Rose and Ray, isn't it? Rose and Ray, I think this should be the case, are here on the cover, and it says cannot be used as link material. This is a bit sad. It has a right and left arrow. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster on the field with 2/5 or more attack, negate its effects until the end of this turn. This is actually quite nice. Might sound a bit strange with the 2,500 or more attack, but it's actually nice because a lot of the big boss monsters that you want to summon have 2/5 or more attack, say for example the Baron or a Bowled Savage Dragon, so you will be able to negate a lot of important monsters. And then, and this is why we are summoning her, at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks and you have Sky Striker Ace Ray and Sky Striker Ace Rose in your graveyard, which we have, this is why we dumped the Ray to the graveyard, we can destroy all monsters our opponent controls, which is quite nice. And keep in mind, this is at the start of the damage step. If you're not aware with what or how the damage step works, then you will be aware at the moment we get 10 Pie Dragons. But at the start of the damage step means that at this point you cannot negate this card anymore. You cannot use, let me not tell you wrong things here, but I think you cannot use an effect negation. You can only use an activation negation at this point, and you can basically not really react to this card. So for example, if it's more of a Tempai example, but you could not use an Ash Blossom in the damage step because it's an effect negation, not an activation negation. A few things are activation negations. Baron de Fleur, for example, is an effect activation negation, so this could be activated at the start of the damage step, but you have this ability to negate the Baron with the first effect. So this can be used to clear your opponent's board. Quite nice, and you can achieve this via only summoning the new card Pillar of the Future, Cyanos. Okay, and in the end I have a little deck list for you that you can go and take to the ladder or wherever you want to play this new deck. Keep in mind, this is not the most cheapest deck. This is a very expensive deck. It always has been, so that's something to keep in mind if you want to play Sky Striker and Master Duel. But we are playing Triple Array. I think this is the alternative artwork one, so obviously get all the alternative artworks, otherwise I would not play the deck. No, the old artworks are fine as well. Obviously we can use one Sky Striker Ace Rose, you only need one of these. We use one Hornet Drones, one Shark Cannon. We use triple Engage. I mean, the new Engage is really nice, but still one of the best, if not the best card in the entire deck. Triple Widow Anchor is just a great card to have here to negate whatever, to negate the Snake Eye Ash or whatever flows your way. Or flies your way in terms of opponent's monsters that you need to negate and then also take. We have two multi-roll, very nice to reset your spells that you have used. One Afterburner if you have, if you are going second and then you need to clear the board. This is very strong. We have one Airspace Area 0. Then we have two of the new cards, Pillar of the Future, Cyanos. You can bump this up to 3 as well if you want to. Can also play without it if you want to. But obviously then the combos I showed you doesn't really work. Then we have 3 Linkage, a very strong card that you can use to kill your opponent with multiple Kagaris. Very nice, you can re-add them with your Kagari. Then we have a 3 Upstart Goblin, which is definitely great in this deck, and if you want to play it at full consistency, then you want to play the Upstart Goblin. It is an ultra rare though that you will not be able to use in a lot of other decks, which is a bit sad, but this is just how Sky Striker is, a very expensive deck. This is something you have to cope with if you want to play this. We have 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Maxi, and then the complete Maxi package, basically 2 called by 1 Crossroad. You can obviously change this up if you wanted to for other hand traps, but I would not do so. We have triple Infinite Impermanence. I think that at every time you should play triple Ash, triple Maxi, triple Imperm, double called by, and then the Crossroad is the most like debatable card. You don't need to play this Crossroad, but I think every other card here is mandatory in basically every deck, which is also a bit sad because this obviously hinders you in terms of being creative when building a deck. We have 1 Reinforcement of the Army, and I could find like a specific Sky Striker version of this. This is not an official one. This isn't even in the game in the OCG or TCG, but I found this here in the database and I thought it was funny using it here, but Reinforcement obviously to get you to your Ray or your Rose. Then we have 1 Foolish Burial Goods. We have a Kaiser Colosseum that you can use very effectively here to lock your opponent. And then we have a Feather Duster just because we want to go second. We can go blind second with this. And if you go blind second, you can also argue that you should put in even more board breaking stuff like Lightning Storms and stuff like this. But this depends on whether you want to go second all the time or sometimes also want to go first, which you can do a bit better now with new cards, but still a very going second-ish deck. Then we have an Azalea, which is still a super nice card. The new Azalea Temperance. We have Camellia, 1 is enough, I think. We have 1 Hayate, 1 Kaina, 1 Ziki. We have 3 Shizuku and then 3 Kagari. Also 1 Engage 0, then 1 SP Little Knight because she's just so good. But keep in mind, if you use the Kianos, then you will not be able to go into a Little Knight and also not into the Access Code Talker because they are not machines. Keep this in mind. This locks you, but in most cases it should be okay. You though have to decide whether you want to use the Cyanos clear combo with the Engage 0, for example, or if you want to use some bodies that you have available to go into an Access Code Talker. This is something that depends obviously on the game state that you are in. Let me know in the comments what you think of this little guide here. Is there something missing? Are there any combos that you have figured out that you also want to share with the community? You can go type them in the commentaries, share them with everyone. Thanks for being here. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, and we will see each other in the next one.